Yeah, it's painful, especially when you're trying to sort your way through the link phase, which naturally comes at the very end. So you have to do a full recompile every time, and then you want to link it. I don't know. I'm not going to pick a winner in that battle. And so it was missing some features, and those features were the features that were causing me trouble. I talk like this in real life, I would think. This is probably more my natural voice than it is during the episode.
Which kernel is better, Unix or Windows?
Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to Shop Talk. I'm joined as always by my co-host Glenn. How you doing, Glenn?
I am doing well, Dave. How are you in this new year of ours?
Well, so far I'm holding up well. It's only been a couple hours, but I'm putting up with it. So, but I didn't get an episode out in the last couple of days, so it sounds like we're gonna jump right into viewer questions.
Yeah, I did. Just as a matter of, I think the last video you did that hardest thing you've done, the Unix kernel there.
Oh, right.
There are a few folks that still had some questions that they popped in since we did it last time, so I managed to grab another 4 or 5 out of there. So yeah, let's start with those.
All right.
Now, during that episode, you did make a guarantee, and then you kind of sneakily said it wasn't a guarantee, but James Ross piped in and said, it worked. I'm 50% smarter now. So
No, it's guaranteed. Not a guarantee.
there you go. So yeah, I thought that was excellent that he it definitely worked for him.
Good.
Michael Domer wants to know, do you talk like that in real life too?
Talk like what? I talk like this in real life, I would think. This is probably more my natural voice than it is during the episode because I'm just kind of riffing here. But yeah, I think I pretty much talk like that in real life too. So
yeah, even some of the extra affects or whatever when you go closer to the microphone and stuff like that that's just how you are. That's the dude that Dave is. So he's probably not used to hearing your real life voice though, so maybe that's throwing him off.
Maybe.
Voodoo Lilium, an hour to compile. Holy, I'd be picking over my code with a fine-tooth comb if I had to wait that long to discover I'd made a typo somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's painful, especially when you're trying to sort your way through the link phase, which naturally comes at the very end. So you have to do a full recompile every time, and then you want to link it. And getting to that stage takes a long time, which is why I did it in the emulator first, and then I'd figure out what layout order would work and transfer that main file over to the real machine and then build it one time on the real machine.
And now you've got the laptop as the other thing you have to run everything through now if it doesn't work the first time.
Yeah, I figured out that was because it was running a different version of SimH, an older, different fork of it entirely. And so it was missing some features, and those features were the features that were causing me trouble. So by locking it, it actually worked better. But
yeah, ended up helping you solve the problem by doing it from a different room and a different machine. Vandal O, can you run modern software on this Unix?
No. You can write whatever you want to write that you can write in C, pretty much. And so I've done modern software in the sense that I did a matrix screensaver and I did some other things. And I wrote sudo because BSD lacks that. So I've written some quote unquote modern software, but you have to use old tool sets to do it. And that's the issue. But you can't take a piece of code from FreeBSD 4.3 written in C++ 99 and have it compile on BSD. That's not going to happen.
So talk about that super user do, that sudo command, or sudo.
Okay. So on Unix or under Linux today, if you want to run a command and do it as a super user, you have the right permissions to do so, you type sudo and then the name of the command you want to do, and it will prompt you for a password if needed, and then run it as super user. Now, in the older Unixes, you couldn't do that. If you wanted to do it, you had to type su, and then you would log in as root, and now you're root, and you could do some commands, and then you could exit that shell. And so it's a couple extra steps, and you get a full shell out of it, and you can't, pipe the results to other stuff. And so there's just times that you want to do it all in one command. And so I find myself wanting to do that all the time. So I wrote sudo, and I checked the code in. It's up on GitHub under the Dave PL branch on GitHub. It's in PDP source if you're looking for it. And it does the check to make sure you're in the wheel group, and it does all the right verifications, and then tries to escalate you and runs the command as root or as super user.
Cool. A little batch file.
Well, it's handy for batch files, but
yeah, cool. The other thing you mentioned was the two screensavers, 3, I guess, now that you've written, and I think those have appeared sort of on your Instagram or X or Facebook or something.
Yeah, I post them on Twitter. little
There you
videos of them. So if you follow me on Twitter, you will get to see the little projects I'm working on like that. And also on Facebook, if you follow me on Facebook, I tend to update those too. I don't do Instagram or any of the others. Not on Snapchat because I'm married. So.
And you're not TikToking or nothing like that either. But.
No, I've posted a couple things to TikTok and got zero traction on stuff that got traction elsewhere. So I'm like, I don't have time to sort out the TikTok algorithm because most of my audience is a different demographic.
TikTok misses your demographic a little bit.
I think so.
Now that Matrix screensaver is just wicked on those VT220s with that phosphorus screen.
Yeah, with the actual real long persistence phosphor in the screen glass, you get the trail running behind the text as it moves down. And so it looks pretty convincing and it came out as a nice look. And it's kind of cool because that movie is like 20 years newer than the PDP itself. So
right. And the limit there was, again, the real screensaver or that version of it in the Matrix. I mean, they're running full 80 columns and multiple things coming down, but you were sort of limited to what, about 16 columns, I think, when you did it on your machine?
I don't know how many they probably run about that number in the real one. The difference with the real one is the character changes every time it moves down a step on the screen, whereas I'm just scrolling them because it's too many things to update in too many places at too high a frame rate to be able to do it at 9600 baud with character codes. Because what I'm doing is moving the cursor around the screen using control codes with escape sequences and then printing, whatever character needs to go there and then moving to the next position. And so there's a lot of overhead just to print each character.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Anyways, that's fantastic. And that's up on GitHub as well then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I also I did Life, a game of Life, but it doesn't update very fast, so it's not that exciting. I did 3 sine waves out of sync. Looks kind of neat. And I did a star field that blinks stars in and out. So some real basic stuff, but
yeah, you sent me those 3 in the sine wave one. I'm like, that's kind of plain. Like the next day, like, I did a new one with 3 sine waves. Is that better? Yeah, sorry.
Stayed up all night.
Yeah, I gotta watch what I say because you're always listening. But I guess that's what conversations are about. The same person, Vandal which kernel is better, Unix or Windows?
Well, better for what?
Yeah.
I like some of the approaches they take in the Unix kernel, and I like the subsystem model that the NT system does, where you can have a Unix subsystem, an OS2 subsystem, a Windows subsystem, and so on, all running parallel without hypervisors. And it also supports hypervisors, as does, of course, the Linux kernel now. I don't know. I'm not going to pick a winner in that battle. I use them both, and they both do reasonably well, and I think the kernels are pretty robust in both. So.
Yeah. Thomas I507H, have you ever created a Linux kernel?
Yes, I've built the Linux kernel and then created it and copied it into place and booted it. But I've never made a meaningful contribution to the Linux kernel. Way back in like the late 90s, I emailed in a bug fix of a handle leak, but that wasn't in the kernel either, I don't think. So. Or maybe it was. I don't remember.
Yeah. And that was, like 30 years ago?
Yeah.
User Joseph Taylor, did you ever use Novell NetWare? And I think I just asked you this one yesterday when we were talking, so I know what the answer is. But
I did. I used it at IBM as a user. We did have it at Microsoft, for testing compatibility and stuff, but I didn't have a need for it. But at IBM, we had a mix of Novell and then LAN Manager came out, and so we had a big IBM Model 90, which is I've got one of them here today, and it was running LANman and then the big red box of Novell NetWare. I remember very little of it, but I'm sure it would come back if I went through a FAQ for Novell.
You guys are running all Microsoft network stuff
At Microsoft?
At Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder why, hey? They didn't
know.
farm that out.
Weirdly
to Novell?
biased.
Yeah. Oh, they probably got a deal on it. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah. Company store.
Yeah. Otherwise, they would have been running Novell for sure. Monty Starr, Minerva. He says, is the Roman goddess of wisdom, justice, law, victory, and the sponsor of arts, trade, and strategy. Minerva for wisdom and Vernerva for wine, truth, in vino veritas.
I think
That's
I know
Latin
what he's talking to.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's actually, I've never seen the movie Tombstone, but I've seen the scene in which Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo, I think, or maybe that's the same guy. Anyway, they're beefing back and forth. And the bad guy says in vino veritas, and I think the reply back is something like age quod aegis, which is you do you, or you do what you do best. I don't really know what he means by it, but that's all I remember of that. But that's where that line is from, I'm guessing. But I'm sure it also predates that movie, obviously.
Sudo su? No, it probably
Sudo
wasn't a
su?
sudo command, was it? No.
You could sudo su.
Sudo su?
Yep.
Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine actually studied Latin in high school and university. I'll ask him.
My kids all took it in elementary for several years. Yeah.
Latin?
Yeah. Instead of Spanish, they were all taking Latin. So.
Wow.
And then they took Spanish later. But
okay. How's their Spanish?
Not great.
Dos cerveza, por favor.
What?
That's mine. That's all I know. 2 beer, please. Yeah.
One of my favorite Far Side cartoons is there's all these scientists and they've got a pen full of dolphins and they've got a chalkboard and they're writing down what the dolphins are saying. And it's all these phrases like habla española and buenos dias. And they're like, it's all garbage nonsense. I have no idea what these dolphins are saying.
That's like the joke. Oh, yeah, I don't know. My dad and I, we know everything, but he knows all the Greek stuff and I know the rest of it. And someone asks him a question and he says, I don't know, that sounds Greek to me.
Yeah, I've got a variant to that. Between my brother and I, we know everything. And then you ask me something I don't know. That's what my brother knows.
Yeah, exactly. Jeweled Casey with a G, G-U-L, Gouled Casey. Thank you so much for this amazing video. I have a quick question. My OKX wallet holds some US dollars, and I have the seed phrase, alarm, blah, 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 blah. Could you explain how to move them to Binance? You know what I mean?
Sorry, I cannot. I cannot do that. I cannot help you with that. I barely understand Coinbase.
Alarm, fedge, churn, bridge, exercise, tape, speak, race, clerk, coach.
That's probably his key phrase or something.
Yeah.
That's not really
anyway, fun.
Just in case.
Michael S840. End user license agreement versus blockchain. Who actually reads either? If you were to rank most successful hacks in history, I'm sure that social engineering types would be at the top of the list.
Yeah, but that don't work on the blockchain. So.
Yeah. Or the manila envelope.
Yeah, they're not relying on people to check to make sure that it's not quite that simplistic. I mean, you can audit just like you can any kind of financial system, but it's not reliant on the auditing to be accurate.
And William Sudbrink, before shutdown? Maybe I'm misremembering, but sync, halt?
Yep.
And what is
and
sync,
I don't know
sync,
if you really
sync?
need so sync tells the system to flush any disk caches out to disk. So if it has any writes that haven't quite finished yet, finish them now. Why people do it 3 times, I don't know. I do it because I saw people do it and I'm superstitious. So I do it 3 times and then I halt. And everybody seems to do it 3 times and I don't know why.
Some things shall not be questioned.
Right. It works. Yeah. I bet you
But
4 works too, but.
He put 4 might be, yeah. I mean, that's getting a little greedy and excessive. I think 3 is just that nice, sweet. Paul Hernaus. Another way to exit VI is to use Z, CZ, ZZ. That's easier than to reach for the colon and then type 2 characters. That's what I always use. Now I have to make sure I use a question mark. So why don't you use that?
ZZ. You still have to, or ZZ, you have to go into command mode first, or you just hit ZZ and I don't know. I have to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll learn another VI trick today.
Yeah. What was the other one? It was colon X. Was that the last one? Yeah. That was saving. Yeah, we're saving all kinds of time. Oh, and yeah, here. So TKX or TXK Flyer says colon X only writes the file when there have been changes, whereas colon WQ always writes the file and then exits. So I guess that's the difference with that extra keystroke for the Q.
Right.
Yeah. So there
Makes
you go.
sense.
We're getting answers. I'm not gonna question that. Timothy Gibney, could you load RSX11 and compare it to BSD? RSX and VMS were used more often outside of universities on those old digital minis.
Yeah, Mark Matlock helped me get RSX11M up and running on the PDP-11 and so I can boot it into RSX and I can also boot it into RT11. But my preference is BSD at this point because it's the most similar to the things that I use today. So my workflow is kind of the same. Whereas when I'm writing for RT11, it's completely different. So
yeah, an RSX11M. Is the M just a later version of it, or?
I don't know if that's for
modified?
multi-user.
Oh, right.
Or is it version M? I don't remember K and L,
yeah.
so I think it's for multi something.
Let's go with multi. Yeah.
Yeah.
George Pine. Dave, if you had a VAX, you don't have a VAX, right?
No.
i.e. a 4000 series, you could BSD 4.3. Do you have any such
Yeah, that would be a
plans?
more modern Unix. No, I don't. We had a VAX at school, and I did most of my stuff on the VAX, but it was running VMS. I'm just not super nostalgic about the VAX, I guess, for some reason. Didn't want a VAX of my own, and so I'm not going to acquire one today.
Creekter Z, cheapers. That Z thing's going to nail me every time. And I think this is a question more for the folks that were in the comments there. How many remember Coherent? What's Coherent?
Well, there's Coherent Unix. I remember the name, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
Oh, okay.
What if it was a real time? Or was it claimed? Well, I don't know what his claim to fame was.
Maybe it didn't have much of a claim.
Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, it probably didn't have much of a claim to fame if it's that much of a unknown.
Well, it's just probably a while ago, and I wasn't into the Unix workstation space in those days. So.
That's right. Yeah. Warren Garabrandt, you have to recompile the kernel to change the time zone? Are there any other surprising settings at modern day operating systems that you change easily, but the older OSs require a recompile for?
Yeah, pretty much everything. So you don't actually have to change the kernel to change the local time zone. So you do that through a symbolic link to a zone file. And so I changed it from being in the zone of Eastern to Pacific just by changing a link. But the kernel, I had changed it to be PST. And then later I found out that, no, you should leave the kernel in GMT at all times. So I put it back to GMT.
I see.
So you can change the kernel, but you're not supposed to, apparently.
So you leave it at GMT and then you just adjust your time by what your variation is from GMT. Yeah.
And so I think Clem Cole said that it changed in like Unix 7 or something. And so you used to have to change it in the kernel globally, but now it's not. So.
And that time zone stuff, that reminds me when you were talking with Raymond Chen and he was talking about all the time zone issues with Windows.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. And even where countries were defined and some really tricky stuff with those time zones.
Yeah, there's some good stories in that interview about that whole issue.
Yeah, yeah. There's a simple thing as time zones. Yeah. One little aspect, eh? Scott Knott. Again, we were talking about the LLM machine there and your
Nano
car arriving, car leaving. He says, are people really not aware that there are license plate reading cameras available from companies like Motorola and Sony that have been available for like the last 10 years? So would it be pairing something like that up with that Nano then, or?
It probably has its own optical recognition stuff. I don't know if it was AI based, if it's 10 years old. It's probably reading a license plate isn't rocket science because it's a rectangle.
That's character recognition,
no one
right?
proportion. Yeah, you're doing character recognition inside of it. So, I'm not surprised to learn that there are cameras because I knew the police have used them for a long time. So, but it's not any fun just buying one off the shelf when you can make it yourself.
Where's the fun in that? That's right. Yeah. Anthony Earhart. Sorry. It's a bit of a repeat. Ever use a VAX? No, except for that one that was in the corner of grade 9 computer science lab. He says he was at a company.
We never had a VAX in there. What are you talking about?
No, No. What was the other machine we had in there?
Micro or a big machine?
No, we just had a micro.
What was it?
No.
There was an Apple II, Commodore 64, Coco, all the little PCs.
There was a big machine in there, wasn't there?
Well, there was an IBM mainframe when we first moved in grade 9.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not a VAX.
An IBM 4100 or something.
Yeah. He says he was at a company in the 90s, used it as a payroll server, and they never shut it off. Well, maybe not when he was around, but you weren't shutting those things down very often, though, were you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because they would still run jobs at night and stuff. Time was valuable, so.
Yeah. And you were using as much as you could, I guess. Would you rent that time out?
Yeah, some places did.
Yeah. Andy, FD5FG. That must stand for something. I just can't read it. I thought Boxing Day was when everyone got out the boxing gloves and started fighting each other because they were all fed up of being cooped up in the same place with nowhere to go.
No, that's COVID.
Every day's Boxing Day in some places, I would think, maybe some families. Hey, if you're not fighting, you're not a family. Leary Sanders, Lerry. I liked it, Leary Sanders. Dave, are you sipping Bud Light? We've gone over this a few times.
Yep. Yes, I am.
Tonight you might be. You have another one in there too. And then Shafoso pipes in and says, Bud Light, you Saskatchewan boys will drink anything. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's not Bull, eh?
Yeah. The problem with that is what?
Yeah, some of the I don't want to say the worst beer, but the least best beer in Saskatchewan is like Bohemian and Pilsner. And Pilsner being a brand, not just a style of beer in Saskatchewan. So, yeah, that would be drinking anything. Bud Light's a couple steps above those, I think. But it's not a good beer necessarily, but it's a light beer, and I don't want a bunch of calories. I'm going to drink extra beer too. So
the beer thing was funny in Canada when we were, 16, 17, 19, 20, because each province sort of had their own sort of specialty sort of beer that only people in that province kind of liked and enjoyed. And Pilsner, I think, was Saskatchewan, and Colt 45 was Alberta, and I remember visiting cousins in Manitoba, and it was Club. And
they Calgary beer too, I think.
Yeah, like you could sort of only get it in that province, and it was not excellent beer, but the hardcore folks in the province strung hard to it. A friend of mine in Regina went to visit last time I was there. I said, "Oh, I'll bring some beer. What do you like?" He says, "The best beer is the one that you got closest to you in the fridge." So
there you go.
He was not fussy. And then Fred Jacobowitz says he missed a couple of these sessions and just noticed that cool light over my shoulder, modulated by my voice. And he said, "Is that one of Dave's creations, and how does he get one?" And that, of course, is the Mesmerizer, which is still on eBay.
Yeah, I think there's a couple left. I'm almost out of them right now. So
then you're going to have to set up the assembly line and package a bunch. I think your
wife
and I...
got parts to make more. So
package, I think the last 50 or 100 boxed them up that got sent off to Amazon and never showed up as the second attempt. But
yeah, we're still trying to sort that out with Amazon.
Yeah. But yeah, it takes a bit. That's a family affair, right? That's you and Nicky basically at the table for a few hours, boxing them all up and putting them together and clipping wires and packaging stuff. Yeah. That's something to do in the shop. Last one I got for you here is V for Victor YT. V for Victory T. How can I not have known that you had a second channel? You have a second channel? What's your...
Dave's Garage, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Apparently that one's doing okay now, eh? Yeah, folks should check it out. He said, "Thanks for mentioning it in the last Dave's Garage video. Loves the content." So, again, I think last Dave's Garage video, did you mention this attic thing here? So that certainly got Victor's attention and sent him over here. So thank you, Victor. There wasn't a question there, but I wanted to pop that in. So, and that's all I got for you, Dave. It's a short episode today. It's a new year. It's over the Christmas, New Year's vacation time. And we were episodeless on the garage for the last week, but you're working on stuff. And any hints on what's going to be falling out of the channel next?
No, because I've still been working on the PDP-11 stuff. I got a KDA 50 SDI controller, which is Deck's big sort of, it was their version of SCSI basically, but then SCSI won out. And trying to get that working. I need all the interconnect cables are all made of unobtainium, and I'm trying to track those down and trying to use ribbon cables in the meantime and see if I can make it work. I got the controllers working and passing diagnostics. I just haven't been able to connect it physically to the drive yet. So, but hard to make an episode out of that. If Dave plugs in a drive, it takes him a week.
And you got a cable that you're waiting to arrive as well, don't you?
Oh no, I got the email saying, we didn't actually have that in stock, so we'll be refunding your money. You know, they listed it on their website and they had a price and said in stock, and it's the unobtainium cable that I need. And of course I ordered it and got all excited, waited a week for it to show up. I'm sitting by the front porch waiting for the UPS guy, and then I get the email saying, "Oops." So that's unfortunate. But he did help me by pointing me to a guy that may have the cables I need.
Okay, so that's good. Hey, you don't happen to have your replacement little 3D printed digital element there, do you? There it is.
The blue one.
Yeah. It's not going to focus. Oh, wow. It looks like your sunglasses there.
Yeah, no, I thought if I put it in front of my face, it would focus.
It will get your face out of the way, maybe. Or is it face focused? Oh, there we go. There we go. Now we see it. Yahoo! Digital. Woo. Nice.
Digital. Yeah, so I have a digital PDP-1170 control panel. Actually, I've got 3 of them.
Yeah.
and somebody had
But it's not a
stolen
problem. You can stop anytime.
That's all right. I could, but I don't want to. Somebody stole a little metal deck or digital badge out of it. And so I had a little help from Rob, my friend, your friend too, and did the modeling of it, printed it out, and I printed it in white. And I'm going to have to paint it to get it to the same weird kind of aged creamy color that the PDP-11 frame really is. But it looks good. So it really spiffed up the panel.
Yeah, it's a wisdom white, I guess, right? It comes with the special color that comes with time. Yeah.
Smoker's teeth yellow.
What did you say? If your mom still smoked, you just send it to her for a week and it'd be fine?
Yeah.
Back in the old days, yeah. Yeah. Fire up the pipe and go into a tent and, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, smoke it up. All right.
Anything else you care to tell us about that you've been tinkering with the last week or plan on doing the next week?
No, nothing really. It's all been centered around the PDP-1183, and I had to rebuild the kernel to add this extra disk controller. It's a lot, but it's kind of the same thing over and over. Not over and over, but it's kind of a repeat of the stuff I did the week before. So I didn't think it merited a new episode, but we shall see.
Everyone should go look for those screensavers you did. It's worth a little watch there.
Yeah, I'll try to remember to put a link in the video. So.
Okay. And pop your questions in. This show and on Dave's Garage, we pull them out and answer them every week.
Yeah, make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notifications, and so you'll get a notification when the new ones come out. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time here in Dave's Garage on Shop Talk. See you later. This little chair will be waiting for one of you, and a rocking chair for another who likes to rock, and a big armchair for two to curl up in. All next time on Dave's Garage.